I had reincarnated 7 times, all to save my girlfriend from her early death, but I had never succeeded. Every time, I failed at the last moment. Each time, I had to watch helplessly as she passed away in front of me. Just as I was on the brink of despair, I saw a comment on the screen. Isabel really knows how to play the game. Whenever she runs out of money, she just takes on a task to charm Ethan. Once she succeeds, she pretends to be dead and slips away. I stared at the screen in confusion. Had Isabel been treating me like a boss to be farmed for points? Chapter 1. I restrained my anger and continued reading the comments. The next one said, "Truly the most miserable NPC. He doesn't even know that Isabel is about to marry someone else in another world, yet he keeps living in guilt, thinking he's the one who killed his girlfriend. Although Isabel's mission went too smoothly this time, the reward was only 1/10. She'll probably burn through it all soon. Guess she'll start another mission pretty soon." The next moment, the world faded. There was silence in the universe. When I opened my eyes again, I saw 18-year-old Isabel looking down at me. She asked, "Handsome, can I add you on WeChat?" Handsome. I didn't respond immediately, and Isabel's ears turned pink. She shyly repeated, "Can I add you on WeChat? I don't mean anything bad. I just want to be friends." I stared at her in confusion. It wasn't until she shyly looked away from my gaze that I snapped back to reality. I had truly reincarnated again, reborn to the day when I first met Isabel. At this moment, semi-transparent words were scrolling in the void in the comments. "Are you serious? This same plot again. Isn't it getting old? Ethan totally falls for this type though. Who says this trope is outdated? It's still perfect. 7 times in the same opening line. I'm sick of it. Can't Isabel try a new strategy?" "What are you talking about? Isabel is after the money. Of course, the faster she finishes the task, the better." I clenched my fist in bewilderment. I stared at the recurring words mission and strategy. My thoughts were suddenly pulled back to the past. Chapter 2. This was already my 7th reincarnation. Each time I was reborn, I carried with me the memories and the mission from my past lives. My first love died trying to save me. I was reborn to avoid that life and death crisis, to stop her death, to marry her, and grow old together. But alas, every time ended in failure. The first time, she pushed me onto the shore when I drowned, only to be swept away by the waves. The second time, she blocked a knife from my enemies and bled to death in my arms. The third time, she took care of me in a collapsed ruin, using the last of her resources on me. By the time I woke up, she had died from dehydration. The fourth, fifth, and 6th times, different accidents, but the same tragic end. Because of this, I felt helpless, tortured, and even angry at fate for being so unfair, always keeping us apart by death. But now, these scrolling comments were telling me something. The love I thought was unshakable, the life and death struggles I went through with Isabel, our countless separations, all of it was just part of a strategy game. Isabel was the player following the plot, and I was just an NPC being farmed for points. Chapter 3. This was absurd. I couldn't accept it. After all, I had loved Isabel 7 times. She gave up everything for me, loved me more than she loved herself, transcending even life and death. How could she possibly be the one playing a game? I closed my eyes, trying to push away the absurd text, but it was useless. It kept refreshing, even more frequently than before. One comment. Why isn't Ethan responding this time? Isabel's getting impatient. Looks like the strategy needs updating. Even an NPC as dense as Ethan can have a bug. Let's see what Isabel will do now that Ethan won't give her his contact information. Do we really need to guess in this situation? Isabel will definitely act pitiful, someone wrote. She'll probably say, "I'm sorry, I'm not the kind of girl who asks for someone's WeChat casually. This is the first time I've gathered the courage to ask." After these comments, the screen was filled with ha ha ha. A while later, new discussions appeared. Someone commented, "Looks like everyone figured out the first NPC Isabel was trying to strategize. That one wasn't easy to fool. Isabel had to pull out all the tricks to strategize him. So when she met Ethan, such an easy NPC, she just decided to keep farming him, strategize him over and over, just like a boss battle." Wait, this is the 7th time, right? Chapter 4. The 7th time? Cold sweat broke out on my back, and seeds of doubt began to take root in my heart. How could they know these details? Ethan, Isabel's eyes reddened, and she looked at me nervously. She stepped forward and reached for my sleeve, but I coldly pushed her away. I replied, "Miss, we're not familiar. Please keep your distance." Isabel froze for a moment, smiling bitterly. She spoke in a voice full of grievance. "I'm sorry. You might have misunderstood me. I'm not that kind of girl. I just wanted to be friends. I've always been shy and never talked to boys. You're the first boy I've paid so much attention to, and this is the first time I've gathered the courage to ask for WeChat. If I'm bothering you, I'm really sorry." With a pitiful look, she turned and left, glancing back at me, a single tear glistening at the corner of her eye. To be honest, it was hard not to be moved by Isabel's appearance. Our first meeting, I was immediately mesmerized by her face, and every glance we exchanged thereafter made my heart race. But now, looking at her, I couldn't bring myself to feel that same youthful affection. She was pretending to be pitiful, just as the comments predicted. Every word she said matched the comments exactly. The comments not only knew the details of our interactions, but also accurately predicted her every reaction. At this point, I had no choice but to believe it. Maybe everything the comments said was true. Chapter 5. Back in the dormitory, I lay down exhausted, beginning to recall the 7 encounters with Isabel. The past flashed before my eyes, replaying over and over again in my mind. Then I realized everything had already been set in motion long ago. Meeting, confessing, kissing, proposing, and accidents. These were the 5 key moments I repeated with Isabel 6 times. The same opening lines, the same proposal surprises. The only difference was the time, each time shorter than the last, from the original 3 years to the last one only lasting 6 months. For a brief moment, I had thought that our relationship felt like a game, with Isabel as the player and the same plot moving faster with each repetition. But back then, I attributed it all to our tacit understanding, because we had loved each other. The time needed to fall in love again should naturally shorten. So, even if each rebirth cost me my lifespan, even if each time together was shorter, as long as there was even a sliver of hope that she could live, I would sacrifice anything for it. Until Isabel died for the 6th time while saving me, I suddenly saw the barrage of comments. That was when the truth finally came to light. In that moment of heartache, so sharp it felt like I couldn't breathe, I laughed loudly, harshly, and with such a piercing tone that even when my throat burned and I gagged, I couldn't stop. The next second, I saw the barrage again. One comment, "What's going on? Why is Ethan laughing like a madman? This plot's different. Ethan's setting is that of a simp. He can't refuse Isabel. Ethan should have already acted like this. The first strategy in parallel worlds doesn't affect NPCs. But Isabel is a real piece of work. Every time she strategizes Ethan, the rewards are actually paid for with Ethan's luck. So now Ethan is in bad health. His school is getting worse, from 985 to a second-tier university. His family is falling apart, and his life expectancy has been reduced by 30 years. Isabel stamping her feet in anger now, LOL. You guys think if Ethan sees Isabel this mad, what will happen? Chapter 6. For some reason, after reading that comment, images of Isabel appeared in front of my eyes. Right now, she was in an empty room talking to herself. Disgusting. Did he really think I didn't know what he is? A little lapdog, like he's never seen a woman before. I just wiggle my finger, and he comes to lick me. What's he pretending for? Does he even know what he is? If it wasn't for the task, would I even look at him? System, when this strategy task ends, I want triple rewards. I know it'll drain his luck and shorten his life, but there are countless trash NPCs like him. What's one more death? It's an honor for him to be my strategy target. Got it. A chill ran down my spine as I sat up abruptly. My body trembled uncontrollably. So this was Isabel's true face. All that tenderness was just a carefully crafted illusion. The real her was cheap, shameless, and malicious. In the image, Isabel was still cursing me. I listened to her vile words, gritting my teeth. My heart sank lower and lower. The next moment, her face changed drastically. She asked System, why has Ethan's affection for me dropped by 10 points? After that, the image of her disappeared again. In its place were the barrage comments, refreshing rapidly. One comment, whoa, what's going on? If I'm not mistaken, Ethan's affection for Isabel was 60%, right? Dropping by 10 points all at once. Isabel was so confident in this strategy before starting. She set the task to 1 month. The staff tried to talk her out of it, but she said Ethan was such a clueless simp that he'd be taken down in a week. 1 month was too much. Now on the first day, 10 points down. LOL, serves her right. Haha. But wait, the rules of time and space changed recently. If the strategy fails, the player has to exchange lives with the NPC. The player becomes an NPC, and the NPC enters the real world and inherits all of the player's wealth. Exchange lives? Now that's interesting. Isabel uses strategy rewards to buy a villa and luxury cars, but Ethan is a poor student. I wonder if after the exchange Isabel will be able to live such a hard life. These comments quickly disappeared. They didn't cause much attention. I silently repeated that line in my mind, reflecting on the idea of exchanging lives. I fell into deep thought. Chapter 7. I wasn't happy in this world. My mother was a mistress, and I grew up at my grandparents' home in the countryside. I was an illegitimate child, and no matter how much I helped with the chores or excelled in school, I could never compare to my brother, who just needed to visit and call my grandparents. For the first 18 years, I lived cautiously, surviving in the cracks until I met Isabel. She understood everything I cared about, and I could consider her my confidant, completely healing the childhood wounds I'd carried. I once thought she was my salvation, but reality struck me a fatal blow. The barrage was right. Isabel was a heartless woman, playing with me like a dog. So why should I pity her? With all those false affections, the villa, the luxury cars, financial freedom, personal freedom, all these things I could barely dream of seemed within easy reach. Just 1 month. Just the sacrifice of one trashy woman. What a deal. In that moment, I suddenly felt that these barrage comments were no longer a burden to me. They were a blessing from the heavens. Chapter 8. Over the next few days, Isabel frequently appeared before me, but as usual, I remained indifferent, and she had no way of dealing with me. The drop in affection points and my unusual behavior made her extremely anxious. I often saw comments about her daily life in the barrage. In the footage, she spoke in a distressed tone. System, what's going on here? Isn't Ethan's program fixed? Why is he so hard to strategize this time? Is there a bug? The system replied in confusion. My data shows no bugs, host. Could it be that your performance is too half-hearted? Maybe it's failing to make the target feel anything. I suggest changing strategies. Don't forget, this task is only a month long, but you've already wasted a week. Another round of insults followed. After venting, Isabel bit her lip and said, Fine. Tomorrow, I'll start Plan B. I don't believe I can't deal with this poor guy. Chapter 9. Isabel was quick to act. Her Plan B went into motion. The next day, a new manager was hired at the coffee shop where I worked. His first act of authority was to fire me. He said, Ethan, we've had a complaint about your service attitude. You're fired. The moment he finished speaking, the barrage began to discuss the comments. LOL, she's just recycling the same tactics. Isabel really doesn't have any new tricks. What are those tactics? A new user asked. First, the green tea. Pretend to be weak. Fake a fall to trigger the target's protective instincts. Second, the sweet girl. Pretend to enjoy playing games and get the target to fall in love with her soul. Third, the dominant version. Rescue the hero. Isabel's secret weapon. Looks like she's pulling out all the stops already. Must be in a hurry. This excuse is ridiculous. Ethan is always polite. How could he have bad service? Obviously just looking for trouble. I was speechless. These 3 tricks were certainly Isabel's usual approach. Before every relationship, I had to go through each one of these tactics, but back then, I was too caught up in it to see clearly. Now it was different. I said, Manager. I pointed to the corner. The coffee shop has 360-degree surveillance. It records my every action. Can you tell me which customer complained at what time? Where's the complaint record? The manager's eyes darted around, hesitating for a moment, but still maintaining a tough attitude. He said, That's none of your business. All you need to know is you're fired, Ethan. Don't be ungrateful. I didn't even blame you. Before he could finish, a familiar light female voice interrupted. Manager, the way you're treating an employee is making me uncomfortable. I furrowed my brow. The leading lady of this drama had finally made her entrance. Chapter 10. Isabel confronted the manager with her hands on her hips, arguing passionately. The content was simple. Isabel couldn't stand how he treated an employee, so she stepped in for me. The manager mocked her. Then in a huff, Isabel took out her phone and dialed a number. It was her uncle, who happened to be the chairman of the coffee shop's parent company. The scene ended with the manager reluctantly apologizing and begging Isabel not to get him fired. It was the typical scene of a brainless, face-slapping drama. After dismissing the manager, Isabel looked at me. She said, "Honestly, handsome, with me here, no one will treat you like that." The barrage was already ahead of me. The comments flooded in. How can she act like that? Ethan, don't believe her. She's like a poisoned apple. Don't eat it. I couldn't help but smile slightly. Isabel's eyes sparkled. Handsome, you smiled. You look so good when you smile. Our eyes met. Her gaze was shallow, but the fake affection in her eyes couldn't be hidden. I thought to myself, she must be so proud, thinking she had me completely under control. She was so pleased with herself. On one hand, I felt disgusted, but on the other hand, my thoughts began to shift. Originally, I had planned to completely ignore her and survive through the month. Then I'd happily exchange lives with Isabel. But compared to the constant disappointment, having hope only for it to be shattered seemed even more painful. I raised a smile, just as I had before, and thanked her politely. I said, "Thank you. You look better when you smile." Isabel's smile deepened. I fought the discomfort, and before she could react, I added her on WeChat. I said, "If it wasn't for your help, I'd be in trouble today. Let me treat you to a meal sometime." While saying this, I glanced at the barrage. The comments. Wait, did Ethan really fall for this cheap performance? I feel so sorry for Ethan. He's so easily deceived. This must be the fate of a simp. But someone commented, "Wait, look at this." Ethan accepted Isabel, but his affection points didn't increase. They actually dropped by 7 points. Yesterday, it was 50%. Now it's dropped. What's going on? Chapter 11. Isabel seemed to be just as eager to understand what was happening. After we parted ways, she immediately summoned the system to check my affection points toward her. When she saw they had dropped by 7 points, she was utterly devastated. She screamed, "System, are you kidding me? Ethan looks at me like he wants to propose, and now you're telling me that not only is he not moved, but his affection points for me have decreased. What's going on here? This data has to be wrong. You need to double-check. Ethan can't possibly not like me." The system was silent for a few seconds before responding again. "Host, the data has been reviewed. Ethan's affection points toward you are still at 43%. Isabel felt even worse. She muttered anxiously to herself. After requesting a review of the data for the 10th time, the system finally gave a conclusion. She said, "System, this is definitely a bug. I'm the person who knows Ethan the best in this world. I can tell you, if I just snap my fingers, he'll crawl to me like a dog. There's no way this data is correct." Isabel was so confident, so certain, that the system started to doubt itself. It said, "Could it really be a bug? But that's impossible. Such a simple piece of data shouldn't have a bug, right?" I watched coldly as this drama unfolded, deciding to give Isabel a few more false hopes. I took action. A few seconds later, Isabel pointed to a WeChat message and sneered. "It's not a bug, is it? Look at this. Ethan sent me a message. He said, 'Isabel, thank you so much today. I used to be narrow-minded, thinking that beautiful girls were proud and looked down on others, that they were after something by getting close to me. I never expected you to be so kind.'" The rest of the message was filled with even more cheesy, flirtatious words. Isabel suddenly laughed out loud. Her confidence grew as she spoke. "System, don't worry, it's a done deal. Just wait for me to take the grand prize." Chapter 12. But the barrage was much clearer than Isabel. The comments started flooding in. "I don't know, something feels off. Isn't Ethan always cautious? He never makes a move unless he's sure. This doesn't seem like his style." Ethan's WeChat message came in too conveniently, like a reassurance, completely calming Isabel's doubts. "It's kind of suspicious. How could affection points like this possibly have a bug? This plot feels weird. Maybe the main storyline is broken." Someone even asked, "Has Ethan unlocked the God's perspective?" I couldn't help but laugh and cry. It seemed like I was in God's perspective, but it wasn't exactly what they meant. What I was seeing were the barrage comments, filled with huge amounts of information, not anything else. Chapter 13. For the next several days, I began frequently inviting Isabel out to eat, take walks, and watch movies. We went to the beach at dawn to wait for the sunrise, and late at night to the mountains to stargaze. Just like in the previous 6 lives, I always looked at Isabel with affectionate eyes, and when she glanced at me, I greeted her with the gentlest smile. We watched a horror movie, and when the redressed female ghost appeared for the 7th time, she dove into my arms, and I held her tightly, gently patting her back. When the atmosphere was most intimate, she slowly leaned toward me, and just as I turned to kiss her, she shyly lowered her head. The barrage commented, saying this was Isabel's usual trick. She was a professional at strategizing, having seduced many men. She knew the most effective method to win over men was to play hard to get. Rather than kissing directly, such restrained, intimate contact was far more touching. Isabel remained confident. She believed her strategy was unstoppable, convinced that I had already fallen deeply for her. Then, after every date, after every system update on my affection points, she was once again devastated. Devastated, doubting, devastated, doubting. She went back and forth between these two extremes, questioning everything, and then painfully asking the sky, asking the system, why? Why is this happening? He's already hugging me, kissing me. How could he like me less? Where's the bug? The barrage was just as confused. The comments came flooding in. This plot makes no sense. Ethan was perfectly normal on the dates, but why do his affection points drop after every one? LOL, first day 60%. Now it's the 17th day, and Ethan's affection points are only 19%. I've watched so many strategy live streams, but this kind of straight downward data is a first. Steady failure. How is this considered a steady happiness? Could it be that Ethan has already awakened? Is he walking the dog? After this comment appeared, there was a moment of silence. Then the barrage exploded. Wait, this theory makes a lot of sense. If that's true, the plot is getting more and more interesting. By the way, after the strategy fails, the system will randomly impose a punishment. I wonder what Isabel will get. Someone else commented, are you all already assuming Isabel will fail? Chapter 14. On the 21st day, Isabel could no longer wait. Since she couldn't use tricks to make me confess, she decided to take matters into her own hands. She didn't have much time left. The first 20 days had been wasted in a tug-of-war with me. She had to complete the remaining 4 steps in the last 10 days and raise my affection points to 100%. In front of many witnesses, Isabel appeared in a wedding dress, holding a bouquet of harmonious roses, trembling as she confessed to me. Her performance was very vivid, and she looked quite nervous. Amid the cheers, I pinched my brow with my unmoistened right hand, and with the sting of the onion, I tearfully accepted her confession. Isabel stood on tiptoe, closing her eyes, hoping I would kiss her, but I completely ignored her. The next moment, I saw the barrage flood with big numbers, 9%. It was like a game I was playing. All I had to do was enter a query for affection points, and the number would appear immediately. I didn't need to type anything. The barrage commented, 9%. Ethan looked so moved, but the affection points dropped by 10. Fun fact, Ethan is really gentle. He has 25% affection points even for stray dogs. To see only 9% means Isabel is less important to him than a dog. Has Ethan really awakened? I can't wait to see Isabel break down. Chapter 15. Before Isabel could break down, it was her system that cracked. First, the emotionless electronic voice also went crazy, angrily rebuking. No, Isabel. What's going on with you? Didn't you have everything in the bag? Why are Ethan's affection points for you never going up? They're dropping every day? I've told you before, leave some room to breathe, but you've been sucking Ethan dry like a blood bag. And now look, the plot's falling apart. Ethan doesn't like you. Isabel looked like she was about to lose her mind. In the video, she repeatedly checked our chat history, trying to find any clue. Unfortunately, she found nothing. With tears in her eyes, she choked up, I don't know what's happening. Everything's the same as before. Ethan is even warmer toward me. Now it's your system that has a bug. What does this have to do with me? You blame me? I should be blaming you. Now there are only 10 days left for the mission. If I fail because of your system bug, what am I supposed to do? The argument between them was summarized by the barrage as a dog bites dog situation. The barrage commented, LOL, Isabel is finally panicking. She didn't feel guilty at all when she was ruthlessly milking Ethan before. I'm more and more excited to see how this ends. Let's see just how far this plot can break down. After this barrage, Isabel, who had been arguing fiercely with the system, suddenly paused. She cautiously asked, "System bro, don't you have any system items? Like something that can boost affection points?" Chapter 16. The system was silent for a moment before responding. "Well, there are items like that, but they need to be exchanged. However, Ethan's affection points toward you are too low right now. So, you'll need to use something else to exchange for them. Money, lifespan, bodily functions, family situation." Isabel immediately said, "Exchange, but don't use mine." The system hesitated. "Then what will you use?" Isabel sneered. "Of course, I'll use Ethan's stuff. If it weren't for the purpose of strategizing, would I even need to exchange for items? He's the one who should pay the price." The system responded, "But Ethan has no money, and his lifespan only has 5 years left. It doesn't meet the exchange requirements." Isabel scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Didn't you just say bodily functions and family situations can be exchanged? We're in the same boat. Without these items, our mission will fail." The system fell silent for a moment before replying. Exchange item: the mutual affection pill. The target, Ethan, has undergone a change in family situation from divorced parents to deceased parents. The cruelty value of his grandparents has increased by 50%. His living environment has changed from a kitchen to a pigsty, and his lifestyle has changed from simple meals to hunger. This change will take effect after the strategy ends, once the data is refreshed. The barrage exploded. People started angrily commenting. Is Isabel even human? She's drained Ethan dry, and now she's using everything he has for the exchange. This is the most disgusting strategizer I've ever seen. No doubt about it. Isabel is already rich in this world. The money in this small world can't be taken with her. She's too stingy to spend it, and now she wants half of Ethan's life. This is infuriating. I wish I could slap this little world into her face. To activate the mutual affection pill, it must be consumed. Ethan, if you really unlocked God's perspective, don't take it. And if you do, make sure to immediately induce vomiting. The barrage was speaking out for me. A sense of warmth rose in my heart as I watched Isabel's malicious expression, a cold laugh escaping my lips. Isabel, oh Isabel, you're so ruthless, willing to go to any lengths. But as long as the knife doesn't cut into your own flesh, you'll never feel the pain. If this is going to be your life. Chapter 17. Isabel couldn't even wait until the next day. She rushed to my house in a panic, pretending to have some casual conversation before immediately getting to the point. She softly said, "Brother, you've been having trouble sleeping lately, and it's really heartbreaking for me. I went to the hospital and got you some medicine. If you take it, you'll be able to sleep well from now on." I stared into her eyes, smiling without saying a word. It was clear that Isabel felt guilty, but this was her last resort, and she wasn't willing to give up. So she forced a smile and said, "Brother, why are you looking at me like that? You don't trust me, do you? I care about you. That's why I've been looking for medicine for you. If you keep looking at me like that, you're really hurting my feelings, you know?" Just as she was about to start her manipulative tricks, I said, "Of course not. Baby, I just think you're so considerate, and it really touches me." The pale golden pill was handed to me. I didn't hesitate and took it, swallowing it without a second thought. Isabel nervously watched me, and when she saw me swallow the pill, she finally relaxed. She said, "Ethan, I'm so happy you trust me." I nodded. The moment she turned around happily, I quickly spit out the pill I had hidden under my tongue. The barrage was shocked. "Oh my God." Ethan spit it out. "He's really unlocked God's perspective, right? I'm now completely certain Ethan has awakened. Everything he's done was probably to set Isabel up. LOL. Isabel is so happy, haha. Ethan's affection points are only 5% now. Isabel's going to go crazy when she checks the affection points later. Let her ruin Ethan's true heart. Watching this shameless girl break down feels so satisfying." I chuckled. Making Isabel dig her own grave was just as satisfying for me. Chapter 18. Unfortunately, Isabel wasn't happy. She broke down once again, going insane. She demanded, "System, what on earth did you give me?" After Ethan ate it, why did his affection drop to 5%? Is this a positive item or a negative one? The system also cracked, going wild. How should I know? Isabel, can you try looking at yourself for once? With your venomous, heartless nature, not only Ethan, even I wouldn't want to strategize you. All you ever do is blame others and never reflect on yourself. You're the biggest problem I've got. Bad luck for binding with a host like you. The barrage erupted. Haha. Now the system and the host are fighting like dogs. It's the 22nd day today. Only 8 days left before Isabel fails the mission. The system raised this point, saying, Isabel, there are only 8 days left in the mission. Can you do it or not? Isabel's panic was obvious. No longer the confident person she once was. With tears in her eyes, she pleaded, System bro, are there any other items, please? Just 8 days left, we can't fail now. Since Ethan's lifespan is going to be used for the reward, and he doesn't have much time left, let's exchange for an item using his bodily functions. The system hesitated for a long while, but since it was bound to Isabel, it finally agreed to the exchange. It displayed, exchange item, deep affection like the sea. The target's bodily functions will undergo changes, including but not limited to heart failure, anemia, diabetes, migraines, lumbar disc herniation, varicose veins, gallstones, kidney stones, lung nodules, hemorrhoids. This change will take effect after the strategy ends, once the data is refreshed. The small golden vial fell into Isabel's hands. She smiled, manic and triumphant, saying, This time, I will complete the mission. This reaction sparked widespread dissatisfaction in the barrage. The barrage. Can Isabel be a decent person for once? LOL. Ethan has awakened. Isabel's strategy is doomed to fail. After the mission ends and their lives are swapped, everything she's done to Ethan, she'll have to pay for herself. This is what happens when you make your bed. Isabel is going to eat the consequences. What is this deep affection like the sea? Does anyone know? Someone replied, I know. This item is colorless and tasteless. After taking it, it instantly brings the affection points to 100%. Ethan, please be careful, don't drink it. Too bad. Ethan's affection for Isabel is already down to 5%. If it drops to 0 now, the mission will fail automatically. No need to wait for day 30. Not possible. For any normal person, affection points with their own kind will always start at 5%, with no space for further decline. Unless Ethan and Isabel completely fall out. If the strategy is exposed, the mission will automatically fail. Wonder if Ethan's God's perspective can see this automatic failure. I paused for a moment. So, there's this. As long as Isabel's identity as a strategizer is exposed, the mission will automatically fail. An odd excitement surged in me, and I looked up at the barrage, flashing a genuine smile. The barrage was stunned. Look, I feel like Ethan is looking at me through the screen. I feel it too. This is strange. Ethan can't possibly see the barrage, can he? How could that be? The barrage is in our time-space, and Ethan is in the small world. Unless his God's perspective lets him travel across time and space. The barrage continued to scroll. Apart from the first person who suspected, no one believed I could see the barrage. But I truly wanted to thank the barrage. Without them, I would still be Isabel's controlled blood bag, reborn with hope again and again, only to die in despair. I said, I haven't unlocked God's perspective. What saved me was all of you. I saw a flurry of question marks. Before I could explain further, the barrage suddenly disappeared. The transparent words that had accompanied me for days vanished in an instant, as if they had never existed. There was no trace left. Chapter 19. The rest was the feud between Isabel and me. I quietly waited for Isabel to arrive. 7 lifetimes later, this farce directed by Isabel herself finally reached its conclusion. She didn't notice anything unusual about me. Just like last time, she handed me a thermos and said, Brother, this is chicken soup I made just for you. I know you've been feeling sleepy, but after you drink this, you'll feel more awake. I stayed up all night making it. It seemed like she had gained some sense. She knew to find a vessel for the item. But it also seemed like she had lost her mind. Didn't she say before that she was going to help me with my insomnia? Unfortunately, I was no longer interested in playing her little role-playing game. I smiled and took the chicken soup, gently shaking it. Then, in Isabel's eager gaze, I threw it straight into the trash can beside me. Isabel suddenly stood up, heartbroken, and picked up the thermos, her face full of frustration. Ethan, what are you doing? Don't you know? I asked. What's in it? She froze, insistent that I drink it. She said, it's my love for you. Don't you love me anymore? I stayed up all night for this. Please, just taste it. I laughed through my tears, cutting off her endless nonsense. I said, Isabel, the mission's failing. Do you have anything to say? She instinctively responded, mission? Isabel's face turned pale, her voice trembling. Ethan, how did you know? I sneered. How did I know you were the strategizer? Otherwise, do you really think all the affection points dropping these past few days were just a system bug? She stared at me, seemingly shocked by my words. In the next moment, she couldn't keep up the love she had been pretending to show. She screamed hysterically. Since you know, there's nothing to say. Ethan, it's your honor to be my strategy target. Drinking this chicken soup. She lunged at me, but I kicked her hard, sending her crashing to the ground. She tried to get up, but in an instant, she lost all strength. The system's voice rang out. Isabel, stop struggling. Ethan exposed your identity. The strategy has automatically failed. You're out. Chapter 20. This is the 5th year since Isabel and I swapped lives. The scene from the day I left had become blurry in my memory. Isabel's hysterical screams, the system's cold notifications, and the faint sound of laughter. I couldn't remember them clearly anymore. This world is so much better. Our life swap was complete. No one but me remembers Isabel. No one even knows her. Everything about her belongs to me now, and the fiancé mentioned in the barrage has never appeared. Sometimes I even wonder if those absurd memories were just a bizarre dream. The strategy never existed. Isabel never existed. Until that day, I met 2 strange men on the island. They were chatting excitedly, their voices loud, and I could vaguely hear them. One said, I told you, right? That NPC named Isabel is the easiest to strategize. If you want the prize, just keep at her. She's not bad looking, and she'll take care of you. The other chuckled. Not just bad health, her family's poor too. Trying to strategize her means dealing with all her family's stuff. If you touch her even a little, she starts crying. It's impossible to enjoy. If the strategy wasn't so easy, I wouldn't bother with her. I froze. Isabel, oh Isabel, good luck.